Hello, everybody. Welcome to After the Credits, episode 74.
Ooh, 74. How's it going?
74. Welcome, Taz. How are you this week? What's going
Good.
on?
I'm good. How are you? Kind of chilling.
I am good. It's been an interesting week. Those Wednesday streams always throw me off because it's then less
Yeah.
episodes. It's time for another one already. Okay, holy shit, we're here, we're ready. um we have a fun show ahead. I think a more chill show ahead. I think, we it's been actually like a pretty exciting day. Me and you were talking back and forth, and I feel like there's a lot of possibilities for these next couple
Yeah.
this next month or so of the show. We're obviously we're starting to end the spring era of a lot of these TV shows. um Last of Us has one episode left. Doctor Who has one episode left. Andor just wrapped up, which we'll hopefully get to talk about more next week.
Yep. When I finally get time to catch up on it, I've made it through maybe 75% of episode 10.
I'm thinking again, maybe I should try again. Maybe I should try and get
Yeah.
caught up.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about it next week.
Absolutely, absolutely. But no, Taz, how's it going? What's your week been like? What's been going
It's
on?
good. It's good. As 3 Dub said, my beard kind of fell off. I don't know where that went.
Mm,
Maybe it'll come back one day.
yeah.
Kind of a nice fresh summer rebrand. But yeah, we've been good. Back on the content grind. Uploaded a couple videos with some nice clips from everybody's favorite live stream.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun, and also been dipping my toes in the Star Wars Fortnite season, which we can talk about a little bit more later on as well.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this season. It's been fun just to I feel like my favorite part of Fortnite over these last couple of I mean, hit me up, Netscape.
Yeah,
I will take most sponsorships if you offer me
it's
money.
it's actually not sponsored. The what is it? The Philips One Blade. It's a little green electric razor. That's the best one.
Oh hell yeah.
So little tip for you.
If we could be sponsored by any show or any brand, what would it be?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Hmm. Something that we would be able to. Oh no, we would be sponsored by a hat brand because you always have a different hat. So there we go. There we go.
I like that. I like that.
Some hat company sponsor Darren.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, give us some money to send me hats. I will wear them on
Yeah.
stream. That would actually be a perfect collab.
Yeah,
That'd be
you'll
awesome.
wear the hats on stream and I'll wear the hats in the gym.
Incredible. I've always said Audible would be great. I would love
Hmm.
Audible because that's just one I use. So if
Yeah.
you're listening, Audible, send me money and I'll promote your site. That would be great.
I feel like you've made it if you get one of like the big ads, like I don't know, like a Raycon or a
Raid Shadow Legends.
Raid Shadow Legends, yeah. Or
Audible's up there, yeah.
what else? What is it? NordVPN or Surfshark? All the VPN ones, those are always pretty fun.
What's the food one?
Oh,
BetterHelp or
yeah, or Factor meal plans, yeah.
yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, remember when everybody was getting what is it, Huel? The little meal replacement shakes. Those were
Yeah.
a big ad for a while as well. Man. sponsor our own show with a let's make a merch site
Yeah, sure.
and sponsor it with our own merch.
It's incredible. All right, let's answer some comments and then we'll start chilling with a couple comments. Way better than Party Nation. Well, don't let Lance hear that. Don't let him hear that. Party Council after the pipeline. New brand collab, huh?
Combine.
Hello, Ronan. How's it going, buddy? How's it going? 3Dubs in the house. How's it going? How's it going, everybody? Yeah, let's start off the stream. Let's get talking. I mean, just for funsies, these next couple of weeks for the show is gonna be very interesting because we were talking about that, and I haven't had a chance. I haven't had a thing like this in a very long time on the show, where we're not gonna have much shows to talk about. Like Last of Us wraps up next week. Doctor Who is going to be wrapping up. I know that's with me and Darth's show, But like after that, there's not really another weekly show until I think Ironheart, which we don't even know if that's going to be a weekly show. It seems
Which,
like
yeah,
it's
they're
gonna be-
dropping like the first 3, right? And then whatever else happens after that, they might just drop the second half and then be done with it. And
Yeah.
then what big shows come out after that?
July. Like I haven't even looked ahead to July. Like I think there's some stuff
Yeah.
in July, but like
But it's more so a movie month.
it's a lot of movies. There's some stuff coming up. Like yeah, there's a lot, and like there's going to be a lot of like binge shows this summer that I'm excited for, and I might make special episodes on that. But like we've
Yeah.
been having, I think, a lot of fun like pitching things that we want to do on the show, and obviously
Yeah.
as people are coming in, I want everyone to kind of pitch their ideas, and we will take all that into account. I have some shows here, some movies here, and stuff like that that I would like to pitch.
Yeah.
That I think would be kind of fun. But what have you been kind of thinking for these like for June? What's the kind of thing for you that you really want to cover or like you would like to talk about?
Yeah. So I know that we were talking about I need to catch up on The Bear, right? When does that come out?
The Bear comes out the last week in June. I think it's like the same week
so I've got
as
the whole
Ironheart.
Okay, so I've got the whole month to catch up on that, so I can kind of, do the same thing that we did with Dexter and everything, and what you did with You. Speaking of Dexter, that is July. That's July 11th, I believe.
Yes.
So that will be
fast.
a weekly show. That'll be at least 10 weeks worth of weekly shows there. If they do the same release schedule that they did for Original Sin, which was the most recent Dexter to come out. I can't remember.
Episode
yeah,
show?
it was a 10-episode show dropped on Paramount. I can't remember if they did a
That'd be
multi-episode premiere or not, but I know it dropped weekly after that.
I know. I need to hurry up on Dexter.
Yeah, you got to speed run through it.
I need to commit to at least 2 a week.
It's only 12 episodes a season, 8 seasons plus 2 10-episode seasons with New Blood and Original Sin.
Yeah.
But you can get through it pretty quick. Pretty quick. I think I finished it in maybe a month and a half. So you've got time.
Yeah.
What is it? Phineas and Ferb comes out next month too, right?
Yeah, June 5th. So that can be an episode. Is it going to be a whole episode?
Not really a theory crafting show, I don't think. But
yeah, that's going to be interesting. Like,
yeah,
like there are some shows like there's like Squid Games and stuff like that, but I don't watch Squid Games and stuff like that. So it's like okay, we'll see. Like, yeah, but like what are like you said you want to do Bear, and like that will be a staple for the next couple of weeks or whenever we get there in terms of that show. But what are some things that like you think that you would want to talk about in these?
I mean, we could talk about games. I know we mentioned maybe talking about The Last of Us games and comparing it to the show. Because I know I need to go back and honestly at this point I'm gonna just restart the first game, and then play through the second game as well. We can kind of talk about that a little bit. Fallout doesn't come out till the end of the year, but I might start diving into some Fallout stuff. I have absolutely no clue when the next season of Witcher is coming out. I don't know if you are a fan or not.
Well, Taz has disappeared on us. Like a witch, Taz has vanished in midair. Taz, are you a witch? You said Witcher and you disappeared.
I hit a button on my mouse. I shouldn't be touching my mouse while I'm talking.
The ghost of Henry Cavill.
Yeah, the ghost of Henry Cavill. So anyway, back to it. The Witcher comes out at some point with Chris Hemsworth's brother.
Yes.
I don't know when that's releasing, but they've been filming for what seems like a year at this point. I have no clue when this is coming out.
Right. I've touched nothing with Witcher, and like I almost feel like it's almost too late at this point. Like I feel like, and like I'm not saying no. Like when that approaches, that's something that's definitely a conversation we had. But also, it's like I feel like the hype of the show is kind of over, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm out of here, guys." Henry Cavill's gone, and it's like, so maybe, and like there's a lot of shows approaching. You're right. Like Wednesday is around the corner.
I need to actually watch that as well.
Yeah. Sandman is around the corner. I kind of like, oh, maybe that's something I can maybe do. Although they announced it's already the final season that's kind of been canceled, I guess, like softly canceled. So I'm kind of like,
interesting.
I was like,
what about the boys? Because there's one final season coming out and more Gen V, right?
Yes. The Boys season 5 is next year.
Okay.
And
So I
then
got plenty of
Gen
time.
V is this year. Gen
Okay.
V season 2 will be this year. I don't know when though. They've
Okay.
kind
So I've
of.
got some time then. I've got some time.
I'm thinking. I don't think it's gonna be summer because I think we would have heard something by now. But I'm thinking
Yeah,
maybe
maybe like a
a
fall
September,
release. Yeah.
October. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me read some of these comments really quickly.
Yeah,
I
go
don't want
for
to
it.
leave people hanging. We finally know about the mystery woman, and I have 1,000 more questions. Me too. Me too. And I'm curious how the conversation is going to go. That's going to be interesting. Maddie, how's it going? Maddie joining us over from our Ranger Nation stream. How's it going? How's it going? After Last of Us, one can talk about the To Dumb event. I'm very excited for that as well. We're going to get a lot of... that's the like Netflix... They're like Comic-Con big event thingy.
Basically, they're like D23 Star Wars Celebration kind of thing.
And yeah, that's a couple weeks, right? That's end of May,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
So what? We're getting Stranger Things trailer, Wednesday trailer. I was like, what else do they have? Probably a One Piece trailer, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Which I just found out that's coming out this year too, which is kind of crazy.
Speaking of that, it reminded me of Star Wars Visions, but season 3 doesn't come out till October, so we got time on that.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about watching that this summer.
Sure. Maddie said, I forgot about Wednesday, but have never been massively into it, though. I enjoy it. That's fair. I feel like if you go in hearing all the hype, it's like, wait, what is this about? But I think it's a fun little murder mystery show.
It looks kind of Riverdale-ish to me, in a way.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's better than most of Riverdale. But like in terms of...
I mean, that's not tough, but...
True. Yeah, no. Like I wouldn't compare the qualities to Riverdale, but like I definitely get what you mean in terms of like I would throw on more like a Harry Potter. It's like Harry Potter meets Addams Family in that way, where it's like a school of... It's like Knives Out meets Harry Potter kind of thing. Like
okay. Interesting.
It's fun though. It's fun. And like they're doing their like 2-part thing there too, which is like
dropping half a season.
Yeah, it's like...
And that's Netflix.
First 4 in August, and the next 4 in... Is it October? No. September?
That's weird.
Yeah.
I would just wait and drop the whole thing closer to Halloween at that point, right?
Yeah, I think the going rumor is just they're trying to avoid Stranger Things, which I think makes sense.
When does that drop?
Stranger Things is October.
Okay.
So, we'll see.
All right. So there's a lot of content to watch.
There's a lot of
needless
content.
to say. And then again, also the movie side of things. I know you don't normally cover movies on here. That's more so saved for the pipeline. But you know, definitely I'll be seeing Superman. I'll be seeing Fantastic Four. And you know, we could do maybe, you know, either a spoiler free talk or spoiler talk, whichever one you want to save for either either side of the streaming equation.
Oh yeah, like I would imagine when Superman comes out, I'll probably do Superman streams of some sorts because there'd be so much to talk about.
And Peacemaker is out in August.
Yeah.
So okay, we got some stuff. Now that we talked it over, we've got quite a bit of stuff coming out. There's some content that'll keep us occupied.
And my thought was, because I think we'll still want to do like at least a episode discussion within here. And I was thinking, like what's a show that's like non-committal and you don't have to put too much pressure on, but could lead to good discussions. And we talked about this in like our ranking or like most anticipated. I think Black Mirror would be really fun. Because Black Mirror,
right? Because you can watch just like a singular episode and just
could just do one episode. It's like you never watch a single episode ever again, but you can just have this singular.
Right. Yeah, so we just pick an episode week before and just say, all right, everybody, this is our and like kind of like book club it. That sounds fun, actually.
Yeah, and
I like that.
I think like, and that's been a show I've been wanting to get into, but like since it's anthology, it's never been like right on my radar because like I'll get around to it, eventually. But I think that show would be very fun in like a and like what the show style I think is, because that from what I hear is very like philosophy kind of show, and it's like it prompts like deep discussions and stuff like that. So maybe that's something that we can do as we kind of get closer to the whatever and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
That's fun.
I'm in. I'm in.
Hell yeah. You had some topics that you wanted to go over as well, right? You had
Yes.
things before we get into our main kind of topics
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So I got a couple things pulled up. I mean, nothing massive. But just we did mention Fallout. And there was a little bit of news last week, within the last couple of weeks, I guess. Season 2 is coming out in December. And it has already been preemptively renewed for season 3. As well as we've had kind of some, talks that basically there's plans to go on for possibly 6 seasons or maybe even more.
For Fallout?
Yeah, for Fallout.
Holy
Yeah, I
shit,
think
did
what was
not
it,
hear that.
the actor that plays Maximus, he was like, yeah, about 5 or 6 seasons, at least. So that sounds very fun. I really, Fallout really surprised me. Like, I, again, am not somebody who is super into the Fallout games. That is, again, one of those that is more so my brother's speed. Like, big open world, kind of collect-a-thon, role-playing games sort of thing. Again, not my speed as far as how I play games. Very much so, very basic. A lot of Call of Duty, a lot of Halo, that sort of thing. But I do really enjoy the story. And the show made me dive deeper into the lore of Fallout and the story and all the, what do the different vaults do and, what's the story behind that. And I think it really did present a lot of, interesting lore. And I do love the fact that it is something canon to the universe of the games, but it's separate from the rest of the games. So it doesn't necessarily interfere or break canon or anything like that, but it just is a complementary piece of media to the already existing universe there, and I really do like that. So I'm interested to see where it continues, and I very much so. Again, big fan of the first season. New Vegas in season 2. Again, I know a little bit about the background, a little bit about what we have in store for us, and I'm excited for it.
Agreed. I had a lot of fun with season 1. I think I feel like that, like, my only complaint with that show is this:
Yeah.
none of it stood out to me because it was on a binge. It felt like one jumble huge project, and it was so good, but like I know I'm gonna have to rewatch it because so much of it I don't remember already, and so much of that world I want to remember more. So my
Yeah.
only thing is I really hope that's going to be a weekly show going forward, because I think that's one of those shows that should be dominating the internet circle for 8 to 10 weeks. It's one of those major shows of the year, like your MCU shows and like your Star Wars shows and like your big franchises that should be talked about weekly and should be theorized and should be, explored. And, I think that show sets itself apart from all these other video game adaptations because it's not an adaptation. It's set in the world of those video games. And it's like, everyone alike is on the same playing field. Like, yes, you might know more lore about this world than others, but also no one knows what's going to happen. It's a completely fresh new story, and I think that's really exciting.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the furthest out point in the timeline. Like, everything else takes place before it. So yeah, they really have that freedom. And in a lot of ways, not to, bring up Star Wars as we always do, but that's kind of one of those things that I had almost wished that they had done with the sequel trilogy, is make it so far removed from everything that came before it that they had complete creative freedom to do whatever they want, but just, make sure that they stick to whatever the established lore, established backstory is. And then, just go for it from there.
Right.
Yeah. Show takes place 20 years after Fallout 4. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think too, so a little inside baseball here with the gaming industry. So Bethesda that makes Fallout, they just recently released Oblivion Remastered, which is one of their classic fan favorite games. The rumor right now is that Fallout 3 is going to be the next one to get a remake/remaster. And I wonder if they're going to coincide that release either with Season 2 here in December, kind of, again, stealth drop it as like a Christmas gift, basically. Or alternatively, promote it at the end of season 2, and then maybe release it alongside season 3 of the show.
Yeah, I think that's smart because like I've never watched a video game piece of media and been like,
Yeah.
hey, I want to play that more than when I finish Fallout. And I haven't got there, but that was such a energetic world to live in, that it makes you want to just jump in. And we saw those like prices skyrocket once that show came out. So very fun.
He said you
So
owe me a
many
flash
cool
ring.
things in that show, and from my understanding, I think it represented, from just what I've heard, how that game operates, where you get to choose these various factions within that world, and then you go through that POV, and I think that show captured that, from my understanding of like, okay, these
100%.
three different ways of life that you can travel through via the game, kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I think it did a really great job of kind of capturing that. And again, I don't know a ton about the game side of things, but I think it had that healthy balance of, brand new ideas, brand new identity with the, again, currently established lore of how that universe should work.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Naruto, at TLOU 2025, I'm hoping for Devil May Cry Season 2 teaser. Hell yeah. You a fan of that franchise at all? Did you watch
I
that?
am not. I don't know a ton about it. I know that it's popular, though.
I know nothing, but I heard some praise for the show, and I'm glad people are enjoying it. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I hope it gets a Season 2. I always hope things that are popular get Season 2s.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Taz, what's next on your little docket here?
Next one I know is the one that's going to cause a little bit of controversy here, and that is the.
Well, Taz is gone. Just kidding.
That is the AI Darth Vader Fortnite situation. So let's set the stage for those who are unaware. Fortnite, being one of the largest games in the world, has had some very, very interesting, very kind of out there collaborations in the past. Right now, this is a Star Wars focused season. A lot of Star Wars characters in the Battle Pass, a lot of different, Star Wars themed challenges. You can get a General Grievous skin, you can get a Emperor Palpatine, all of that. Darth Vader was available in a previous season's Battle Pass, but there is a AI NPC Darth Vader that if you you just kill him on the map, you can add him to your squad, and Darth Vader will kind of just roll with you throughout the game. And the big twist to this is he's not just any AI character that'll just, start, spewing out random dialogue options. He's actually a fully programmed AI that will respond to you. So he's basically a Darth Vader, personality, has a Darth Vader personality as like a chatbot, and he will respond to everything that you say in game. And in my mind, I think it's pretty freaking cool. Like, yes, there's a lot of drawbacks to it on the kind of technical side of things from the game industry side, but looking at it from a perspective of a game player, of a Star Wars fan, being able to talk to Darth Vader is kind of a very interesting concept. And obviously, again, the big drawback is the ethics side of things, with all of the voice acting strikes going on that have bled into tons of other games. Destiny 2, for example, there's basically a warning now before you play the game. It's like certain dialogue is missing because of the ongoing voice actor strikes, that sort of thing. So if you notice certain characters without dialogue, that's why. On the Call of Duty side of things, they have very much so taken or minimized the dialogue for a lot of the dedicated Zombies crew characters, because some of these actors are in the midst of this voice actor strike. There have been some quotes from, on the Star Wars side of things, Sam Witwer, talking about voice actors, AI protections and everything like that. And I am 100% on board for that. I think that as an actor, as a voice actor, you shouldn't have to worry about a company potentially taking your livelihood and being able to use that to their advantage without your consent or without your permission. But the Vader situation is a little bit different. So yeah, you pulled up the article here. Is that SAG-AFTRA filed unfair labor practice charge against Epic Games for its use of AI Darth Vader in Fortnite. However, the small little caveat here is that James Earl Jones and his family apparently gave permission for his voice likeness to be used to continue the legacy of the Darth Vader character. And this isn't the first time that it's happened either. They did this, a very similar thing with the Kenobi show, it was a mix of James Earl Jones's actual voice recordings, some of his archived voice recordings, as well as AI generated voice work. And I think it worked really well for the show. And in that context, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I definitely see where you could have an issue with it, wherein here, Vader can literally say anything. Like, you can trick him to curse, be super vulgar, like, say very just out-of-pocket, ridiculous things, and yes, it's funny. Go watch the compilations if you want to see it. IGN did a pretty funny one. But it is also very concerning. It's very scary that somebody can just program this, put it in the game, and Fortnite might be setting a new precedent going forward that the next time there's a Dragon Ball Z season, you might be able to talk to Goku, you know? You might be able to talk to Vegeta. You'll be able to, when Superman comes out, you'll be able to talk to David Corn Sweat Superman.
Yeah.
Like, that's, again, slightly concerning, but also from the point of view of, oh, maybe we could have just gotten a, voice actor to act this out. You could have, but it wouldn't have been as vast. Like, you can ask him some very niche things. Like, my brother and I decided to go play this a couple nights ago. We asked him about the clones and Starkiller and, what he thought about, certain things. Like, we asked him about sporting events, and like I've seen clips of people asking him, what do you think about the sequel trilogy and all of these things. So again, from the outside looking in, it's a very interesting concept and it's a very new thing. And I think that with it being so new, there's not really any rules in place, but I think that is really the biggest argument that SAG-AFTRA has here is, okay, this is brand new. We don't have any rules against it, and we need to figure out a way to protect our actors as best we can.
For sure. Yeah, I think you make a lot of good points there. I mean, it's no secret on this show and the various shows I've done. Like, I strongly dislike AI. I kind of think it's like the death of cinema. I think it's like the death of arts. I think it's such a dangerous, slippery slope. And, like, I understand that James R. Jones put in place, yes, I want them to be able to use my voice. And I think there's a difference between this and Kenobi, in my opinion. I think Kenobi
100%
is it being like, hey, for the use of Star Wars, you are allowed to use my voice for various things. I personally don't have a huge issue with stuff like that. I think that is okay in theory. I think this is another ballpark, though, because I think we are making AI too mainstream, and I think there's been a lot of propaganda for it in the last let's say a year. Like all your iPhones have AI and your computers have AI and all these services have
and there's
AI
so many
and YouTube.
Tiers of AI though too.
Yeah. I think it's just like, again, inherently it's not all bad. Like, I think we've been using AI for 10 years now and not know it in various different aspects. So I'm not saying it's all bad all the time, but I think at the rate we are going, it is heading in a very dangerous place. We are using it to make movies and arts, and people would rather take seconds to make an AI whatever than go pay an actual artist. And I think eventually we are going to see the real life event of that. I think in a couple of years we're going to see our first mainstream movie made with AI, and studios are going to see that and they're going to go, oh, well, that was a lot cheaper than hiring real writers and producers and actors. And it's like, again, like, I don't want to piss anyone off that's using this and having fun with this. Like, obviously, I'm so happy people are having fun, but also it's like, keep in mind while you're doing so that, like, it's easy to get into stuff like this too. It's easy to kind of fall into that rabbit hole.
Like what is the cost of having fun at that point? And a couple of other things. I did pull up a quote here. James Earl Jones's family spoken on the AI Darth Vader in Fortnite. He always wanted fans of all ages to continue to experience it. We hope that this collaboration with Fortnite will allow fans of Darth Vader and newer generations to share in the enjoyment.
Yeah.
So a positive spin from the family side of things, and I really do like that sentiment. But you really do bring up very good points. Is again, it's a slippery slope. Is if they're allowed to do this for one character in a live service game, what happens when they make an AI version of Troy Baker in the next Last of Us game? That you can just talk to and generate infinite dialogue.
Yeah.
That is scary to think about. And, I guess think about it from our perspective, right? Somebody could literally go on, take samples of our voices drop it into any AI thing and say, hey, use Darren and Taz's voices and create a live stream that is 2 hours long in the same vein of all 74 episodes of Darren After the Credits. Generate. Done in 5 minutes, post it, upload it, and pretend that it's us.
Right.
Or make us say things that we didn't really say, like people are doing with Darth Vader. They're making him say ridiculous things that even, Epic came out and they were like, oh, you're not going to be able to get him to, say, certain types of things and do certain types of things, yet people find a way to trick the computer all the time.
Right.
So it is it's a scary thought, but it is very much so in its infancy, I think, as well. But it is crazy to think about how capable and how powerful something like this is in such a rudimentary state, and how much it's improved over the last few years. Like, I remember the craziest AI thing, a couple years ago was, and again, videos that I found funny were like people like did AI voices of the presidents playing like Call of Duty Zombies, right? So it's like, they're all, playing Call of Duty or something like that. Like, it's just like seemingly inoffensive or innocent things, right? And again, something like this, very much so just for the fun of the game, for the event, but it's so popular. It has gotten so much traction. It's done exactly what they want it to do, and they're going to do it again. Whether they actually use, say, again, let's bring that, Dragon Ball Z example back, because they've done Dragon Ball Z events in the past. Whether they actually somehow get the rights to the voice of Goku and make him do that, or they just hire a voice actor that kind of sounds like him and makes that AI voice. What's the legality there, right? You're not necessarily replicating that voice, but Epic Games has the rights to the characters. They hire a voice actor that can do an imitation, create it with AI, and maybe blend it with the real voice a little bit to make it sound more like the actual voice, and bada bing, bada boom. You've got Goku in Fortnite that can, say an infinite amount of ridiculous things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, again, like, I feel like it's almost a losing battle at this point. Like, again, it's becoming so mainstream. It's becoming so popular, especially among the younger generation who just doesn't see the problem with it. And Facebook is full of like AI generated images and all these things, and it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah, I can't really tell the difference.
It's really hard to tell the difference. And I don't think AI is going anywhere now. Like, I feel like it's just, I don't know. Like,
it's here to stay for sure.
It's here to stay, and I guess I would just rather they don't. I would rather, like, I will never be a place on here and something AI come out and me be like, yeah, that's cool. Like I can't see that being a reality that I personally live in. Like
Yeah.
Daniel mentioned about like he'd rather AI than them recast Darth Vader. I disagree completely. I will always prefer you cast someone new in a role than use corporated stuff that you have in store.
What do you think about so again on the Star Wars side of things, the CGI deepfakes that they did, like they
I would prefer you
younger
cast someone new.
made younger Luke Skywalker.
I would rather you recast Luke Skywalker than used jumble up images and stuff like that from the past. Like I think it's very impressive, but also I think like I'm always okay with someone else giving their stamp on the character. I'm always okay with that being the aspect, especially if it's supposed to be like a younger version of that character. Like that is completely fine to me, and I'm not like against what they did with, you know, like I think that's a better version of what's been happening lately. Like I understand, you know, you have the consent from the actors, you're wanting to put that out, blah blah blah. I'm okay with that to an extent,
right?
As long as it doesn't become the norm, as long as that doesn't become your go-to for everything, whereas like we won't cast new actors, we'll just keep reusing our same actors for 100 years. I think that goes against art. I think that goes against the creative freedom. It's such, again, it's just such a slippery slope. Like again,
it is
inherently a lot of these things aren't bad inherently, but it could get there. We could find ourselves in those situations.
Yeah, and that is, I guess, bringing it full circle, right? That is the whole reason why a lot of these, or why the strike is happening, why a lot of these voice actors are speaking out. Like, I would say really go online and find the quote of Sam Witwer, chat, if you haven't seen it already, but kind of what he said about the AI protections and things like that. And it very much so timely came out at the right point. But, you know, basically Reader's Digest is, you know, he was saying very much so the same things that we're kind of bringing up here is, you know, it starts small, but what happens when they take your voice and use it for projects and don't need you anymore as a voice actor? And that is a very scary thought. And I'm pretty sure that all of us can relate to that in some form or fashion. Think about your profession, think about your job, and think about a way that a robot or an AI could do it the same way that you can do it, but cheaper because it's a robot.
100%. Like it's kind of a different thing, but like we have those self-checkouts at my store, and like I very rarely will use those, because while yes, we're okay for the time being, there will be a reality when the corporations will just be, it's easier to do those than to cast actual people who need actual jobs. And it's been happening for the last 10 years. You know, at restaurants, they will have a tablet there instead of an actual server. And it's like, a lot of people could use that job.
You've seen these like whole self-checkout stores now. You literally scan a credit card, go in, take what you need, and then they auto charge you based off of what you take from the store, a fully autonomous, you know, store experience. Or like that's basically the Amazon store, right? Or the Amazon Fresh. So yeah, it is, and very much so. We got into kind of that deep moral dilemma discussion already. But yeah, it definitely, it's scary to think about. It's something that we very much so, you know, have to be careful with. But I do think as well, playing that devil's advocate side of things, I don't think that there's necessarily anything inherently wrong with playing the event, with enjoying it, with interacting with it, with posting about it, but just make it clear as well that you still stand on the side of the voice actors, of the creatives, and, you know, you're not going to stand for these corporations taking advantage of these people. And again, it is not just Fortnite that's doing this. Again, it's Destiny with, you know, with Bungie. It is Call of Duty, Activision, you know, more so than, you know, any individual developer, but kind of those parent studios that are, you know, in control of these games. And, you know, it's happening there. It's happening also, you know, to a greater extent with not just AI generated content, but there's been a whole big debacle now with Bungie and their most recent game that's going to be coming out, a new Marathon. They have literally been accused of and confirmed that they stole artwork from community members, like people that the developers followed. These artists had their artwork stolen and put into a multi-billion-dollar game without their consent. So if that can happen, then who's to say what can or will happen on the AI side of things?
No, for sure. Yeah, like it's it's not something that's slowing down. Like this is going to be a continuous thing for what I assume will be a long time. Did you have any other kind of topics here that you wanted to cover, or was that about it?
No, that pretty much covers it. And then I do have one thing that will, I'm sure, go pretty in depth with when we get to Last of Us.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. I have done a couple more episodes of Dexter, by the way.
Okay.
I'm only about 4 in, unfortunately.
All right.
I'm busy this week, but starting, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna focus in on. I'm gonna get through season 1 over the next 4 days.
But you're full in on the mystery now?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I do feel kind of similarly to how I felt with you, where I do think it's a show that takes a little bit of time to get into, take its time to world, and I feel like that's a lot of season 1s. But it's fun. I love the show's environment. I love the vibe. I love, I miss shows from this era, and I think I want to get into
very much so. It feels like it's that time.
There's so many shows from the early 2000s, the late 90s, early 2000s that have this vibe that I just eat up. These TV shows that feel like TV. I guess I just want to get back into actual TV shows again because I miss this.
You're right. Think about how they're shot. Think about how they're directed and acted. You're right. It is a real production, and they pay attention to small little details. They're really nice establishing shots. They're good transitions. Scenes are very dynamic. Wherein a lot of times now you've just got very basic camera work, very static shots. And shows are covered in CGI, and it's crazy. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, again, you're 100% right. I do love the old feel of these shows, and I think that Dexter continues to encapsulate that throughout its entire run, and even with the newer series with New Blood and with Original Sin, it still captures that same classic feel that you got with those earlier seasons. I still think season 1 is my favorite, and I'm very interested to see how you go ahead and end up ranking everything.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious because it's not my. I do this a lot with the first time I'm watching a season, where I'm watching it inherently and I'm like, this is the best the show has, and then retrospectively, once I love the show, I'm like, oh yeah, that was fantastic. I just didn't realize it yet. I didn't realize because I didn't love the show like I do. But no, it's a really strong start. The first 4 were very, very fun. I like these little dynamics. Dexter's a very interesting character. There's a whole blood life to this show. The mystery's been very fun. I'm excited to see how we wrap up. Is that, maybe this is slight spoilers, is that a season 1 story, or is this the story that kind of is a multi-season story, or is that a spoiler?
Every season is fairly self-contained.
Interesting. Okay.
So every season is very has a very unique very, very unique spin. And I do like as well, not necessarily a spoiler, but I'm sure you've kind of already picked up on this, is kind of the monster of the week, the villain of the week, without, and it's cool because I'm like, oh, did a show like this kind of pioneer that? When, when did that really first come around?
Sure.
It seems like shows like this did, I don't know why this comes to mind, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I feel like, is that a show that also had kind of the monster of the week kind of thing around this same era?
I would assume, was that '90s show. That was a '90s show, right? That
Let's
was
see.
like
Which
late
also, I
90s?
guess, technically as well, we could talk about it this a little bit. There's a new Buffy show coming out that
There
had
is.
some very interesting casting, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. The main lead role, or I guess like the main female lead of Skeleton Crew was cast. Let me pull up the exact article before I can say her
First
exact name.
first episode date March 10th, 1997.
Yeah,
7 seasons,
the late 90s.
144 episodes.
Yeah,
Wow.
which that is a show I want to eventually get to, because
I do as well.
that's such a
It's a
prime
classic.
that's such a prime show, and it's coming back. And like, I feel like that's one of I feel like the Arrowverse shows wouldn't have gotten that. Like I feel like a lot of what inspired the Arrowverse shows, what inspired Smallville, really came from that.
So was it like a CW-ish show? I don't know what network it aired on.
I don't think it was on the CW, but it's templated like that.
Right, like an early CW show, yeah.
Yeah. It's very Smallville. Like, I think if you've seen
Okay.
Smallville, it's the same kind of
Yeah.
the same vibe or whatever. But yeah, she was, I can't find the article right now, but the main girl in that show has been cast for what seemingly is the pilot of that show. I don't think it's officially been picked up yet. But if it does, we were talking about this, and I was talking about it somewhere else as well. Probably rest in peace, Skeleton Crew, I would say.
Yeah. Unless they, again, almost strategically wait a while and let these kids kind of age up a bit until they're, maybe ready to go on a more, more intense adventure. But
you wouldn't have to wait long.
No. I mean,
that actress is 15. I think
like,
the lead
technically they
actress
could
14. Like,
they could wait a little bit and let them show up in like Heir to the Empire or something like that. I'm not really sure what their role would be, but I think timeline wise that would pretty much check out. Like, I think Skeleton Crew was only a couple years post Return of the Jedi, if I remember correctly.
I just loved the idea, and like, it was this fantasy world.
Yeah,
I know
again,
that
Space Goonies. That's all it was.
I love
in the best way possible
to grow up with that cast. I love the idea in this fictional world. This is like an 8 to 10 season show, and every year we get a new season, like a Harry Potter. And then eventually they grow to be the main leads of Star Wars. Like, they are the main characters. See a Flash Freak. I'm so sorry.
Flash Week.
Of this Star Wars. Like, I think that'd be such a cool way to do it. And then everyone loves these characters because we've grown up on them. They're similarly kind of what we did with Anakin, right? I wasn't watching when that was going on. I binged them, but I imagine there was a feeling of kind of growing up with Anakin as those movies kind of went along. He started as a kid, and he was a young adult, and then he was Darth Vader, right? Like, there was that evolution kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. I do really hope that we get to continue with that, but I feel like that's something that we will not necessarily get confirmed nor denied for a while. I am, though, semi-positive on it because they very quickly said The Acolyte was canceled after season 1.
Right.
And the fact that we've not heard whether or not Skeleton Crew is continuing or not gives me a little bit of hope, but maybe that's just more so copium than anything.
The Acolyte was the only Disney Plus show that was canceled,
insta-canned. Yeah,
there was no other show. They've always been maybe someday, we don't know.
Even with Hawkeye season 2, didn't something come out basically that said they intentionally, well, they wanted to do it, but they intentionally lowballed Jeremy Renner to get him to not sign on for a season 2 because they didn't want to use movie characters in shows anymore or something like that. Something weird was going on with that, but I don't necessarily know the full story on that.
Yeah, it was a thing of just they wanted to pay him less for a season 2. And to be fair, to play devil's advocate, I don't know the full story. It could have just been he's in season 2 less, right? It could have been this is a Haley Steinfeld show now, and focusing on her and not him as much, and he's I'm being paid less. Fuck no. you know, and also it's like they're treating TV different now. They are not trying to
Yes.
do these 300, $400 million TV shows. So when approaching him with it, it was probably like, hey, we want to do a season 2. Would you consider doing it for less? And it's probably like, no, I would not do it for less, which is why I've been pitching, do a movie. Do a Hawkeye movie, finally. I think it would actually do well. Let me read a couple of these comments, and then we can move on to our main topics here. Still remember my first time watching Dexter was when I was on a date. They didn't enjoy it, but I got home later and then binged lots of it. That's really funny. That's
like true Dexter mentality right there.
Yeah. Who needs women? Men or women? Who needs a date when I have Dexter?
The cure to male loneliness is just binge watching Dexter.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do think that's real. Like, there is so much of the show with Dexter where like I am yelling at my TV. Is like, just talk about your feelings, or like just talk about how you feel. And I know it's from a different era. Like there's a whole bit where she's like, I don't really want to be physical with this woman. She's trying to get back into it, and it's like, just tell her that. Just tell. Like, I know that's not like the era where men felt safe talking about their feelings, but I'm like, just tell her you don't want to, and she'd probably be like, okay, that's fine. You know, like, okay. Flashwick said, never watched Dexter, however, I heard it's a forensic scientist by day, which makes me interested. It does feel very Flash. It feels very much like the CSI stuff from Flash.
Which is why, in a lot of ways, I brought this up before, I want the actor who plays Dexter in Original Sin to be the DCU Flash, while Michael C. Hall is the Reverse Flash. Boom. There you go. James Gunn, hire me, please.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I've been meaning to watch it. I swear there's too many shows that I think I'll watch later, but when later arrives, I think I'm just never. That is me to a T. I have a whole list of shows. I was like, I'll watch it when it's relevant again. And
or you fall back and rewatch something that you've watched a million times, which is what I've been doing with movies.
Yeah, like I've said for a while, like, oh, I'll plenty of time to watch Dexter. It's a while, and then it's like, oh, now it's 2 months away. Hurry the fuck up. Buffy was on WB. Okay, so it was CW.
Yeah, so basically CW. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and yeah, it was Josh Whedon, which is, you know, Josh Whedon now is. There's actually a lawsuit going on with the Acolyte right now. Really, I haven't heard about that. Have you heard about this?
No, not at all. Hold on.
What's the context, Cody?
Yeah. The Acolyte lawsuit?
Manny said, men boo, women boo, Dexter woo.
So this is just the little headline that pops up when I look it up. Star Wars The Acolyte series faced a lawsuit involving its executive producer, who was fired from the show after a few weeks of work. The lawsuit claims Lucasfilm breached a contract and acted in bad faith by terminating McCarthy without explanation or justification. Suit alleges that Lucasfilm's actions deprived McCarthy of significant employment opportunities and potential earnings. So a wrongful termination suit for one of the show executives. So
I hope they win.
Yes.
I feel like I'm always more for the creative than the billion corporation or whatever.
Yeah, boo large corporations.
Yeah, 100%. Unless they're in the wrong, then obviously not. But it seems like they're.
Basically, it's like, I hope whoever's in the right wins and whoever's in the wrong loses.
100%. 100%. That's the energy I want to be bringing into any conversation for sure.
Yes. Cover all my bases. I don't know anything, but yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Doctor Who. Obviously, I'm not going to spend too long on it. But this was like a big episode for the season. This is a big reveal week. There's a lot of mysteries. Some have been waiting. This was a very interesting episode for a casual fan because this episode brought in two classic Doctor Who things. Two very classic Who things. One of which was introduced all the way back into like the 1960s and stuff like that. And there's this reoccurring character from the classic Who that like I don't know inherently. And like these things happen in the episode, these two separate things that within the Doctor Who fandom are really, really cool. And now that I've done a little research, I'm like, okay, that sounds awesome. that I'm so happy that the Doctor Who fandom is having this like, oh, holy shit, these characters we've been wanting back, they are now back. But in the moment while watching it, I'm like, this seems really cool. Who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck are these characters? I want to be excited about this, but I don't inherently know them yet. And I'm curious how the show approaches that in coming weeks, where I'm wondering how they approach it to the new fans, to the new people. And it's interesting because this was inherently pitched as the new jumping on point for Doctor Who, is that you could jump on for the first time and be okay and approach all these things. And that's awesome. Like, I'm not complaining about it, but also it's like, okay, I'm going to need a little bit more. I'm wondering how they kind of fill in the audience. Let me read Maddie's questions, comments, whatever. Least favorite episode of all time or just of this season?
Ooh.
I wouldn't say it's my least favorite. Although I might say it's one of... I've really loved this season. I think season 2 has been immaculate. I think it's been... I thought episode 1 was a little weak, but I think episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5 were just absolute banger episodes. So I do think this one sticks out to me a little bit. I was like, not bad, because there was a lot of good stuff in here. There's really cool things in here, but just I like it less than what we've gotten in the last couple weeks. Susan was cool. The Ronnie reveal, however, was quite something. Yeah, I'm curious how casual fans are feeling of that reveal, because I have seen some criticisms of, like, for a reveal that's been like 30 odd years since we've seen that character, maybe could have been done a little bit better in that way, or maybe could have been handled in a different way. So this reveal, basically, Taz, let me try to
I was going to say 30
it.
years in the show or 30 years in real life?
30 years in real life since people have seen that character in canon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like this is
that's
this
huge,
is like
then.
a classic
That
Who,
is
like way back in
massive.
the day.
That's who this, like, so you said that there was like a masked character, or a mysterious
there was this
figure,
mystery,
right?
Yes, and that's who this was.
And that's who it was. Okay.
It, like, from my understanding, from my research, this is basically just another kind of evil Doctor Who character.
Okay.
And there's been like an evil Time Lord character in the past, but this is like another one of those characters. Think like a Zod or like a Supergirl, where it's like Doctor Who is actually
reverse Doctor Who.
Exactly. It's very Zod coded, and it's like one of those things. Like Doctor Who and Superman has a lot of comparisons. But it's like, okay, their planet was destroyed, all their people are gone until it's not, and there was this long lost one that kind of shows up. And I was like, wait, I thought they were done. Nope, but there's this one. It's like, okay, cool. And it's like,
wait, so the doctors are aliens?
They are, yes. They're not human. They're
okay. I completely missed this part of
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I missed that part of the lore. I guess they didn't go into that on Disney XD too much.
No, maybe not. But yeah, no, like he's an alien. He has 2 hearts. He's on this other planet, and all of his other people died in this war, and he's the only last one. Very much like Superman.
I think I did know the thing about the multiple hearts. I think I did know that for some reason. Okay, continue.
Yeah, no, and like it's very interesting, and again, like in the moment, I wanted to love that thing more, or wanted to love that moment more, and I bet I will retrospectively. Like, I bet it'll be a very cool thing once I'm reintroduced. And like, I do wonder if it's going to be one of those things of like, we had like an evil Doctor Who kind of character, the Master, in like the past stuff, and that was very fun and very cool. But I wonder if this is a way of like, okay, we're kind of doing that concept again, but we're doing it with a new audience, so let's introduce that other one we haven't seen in 30 odd years to kind of do whatever. So that's very interesting. I'm excited to see where that goes. The other cameo, and this is the one I know less about. I literally just watched a video before this stream just to explain it in any way I can. I think is the original companion from the original Doctor Who, like 50 odd years ago. It's like the granddaughter of the Doctor. She's like the first ever companion, and she kind of has these like flash ins and outs of the episode, being like, "Come help me, Doctor," and like in the moment I'm like, "Cool, awesome. Who is this person?" And again, that sounds like a sick thing, like a character that was like young when the show started, and she's like kind of old now. It's like, okay, that's an awesome cameo. I'm excited for them to reintroduce it to me. because that's going to be a fun experience, I think. And I'm so happy again for the fans that are having that moment.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Let me read some of Maddie's things here. Thank you, Maddie,
Yeah.
for commenting.
And
this
then I do have
Ruby's
one.
favorite.
I do
Okay.
have one question for you on this. So, something I
Okay.
saw article wise. What is the debacle with the, I guess, Disney funding going away or something like that? I saw.
We'll talk about that once we get through this question, because
Okay, yeah,
that is
I didn't know
did wanna
how
bring
much
up.
layered of a question that is.
I feel like Belinda should have called the doctor out after torturing the guy. Okay, let's talk about that. Because I've seen a lot of debates, and I feel like I'm probably not the best guy to talk about this, because there's a lot of Doctor Who history that I haven't seen. There's a lot of stuff, even of the modern stuff, I haven't seen. So, like, new guy here trying to talk about a 50-year-old show. I also wasn't a huge fan of that torture scene either. But I'm also not a huge fan when when the Doctor gets super dark and like is close to crossing that line. That is never my favorite versions of this character. I like the version that's more on the line of like a Superman. That's like, no matter how far I get pushed, I will not cross that line. And, you know, he almost crosses it. And I think it's super valid, because in this scene, he thinks that his companion and, what is it, like, 100,000 people just died. Like, in his head, he thinks all these people have just been brutally murdered. And it's like, justifiably, I would also probably do this shit, but I don't like it coming from a character that I view as, like, so morally grounded. Although I understand this isn't new for him. Like, I know a lot of fans were like, oh, how dare they do this to Doctor Who? It's like, yeah, but it's not the first time he's done stuff like this. Like, he has technically killed, and he's done these various things, but it's like last resort kind of stuff from him.
Yeah.
And there's a scene, maybe I'll like send it to you later, because it is a very interesting scene where he just like, he has a taser. He keeps tasing this person, like torturing them back and forth, and it's like, holy shit, that's very dark for this character. But I agree, it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my favorite either. I think that put a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, just a little bit. The character only has been in 3 stories. One of them is a comic relief sketch that isn't even canon. I do think I've seen that with the surprise character at the end here that I was talking about. But yeah, like it seems like a thing where like even people have been watching for years were like, I don't know who this character is. Like I don't know what this is. So I don't know. I feel like it would have made more sense to not do after 30 years. The character, no, I think that makes sense. Hello, Lance. Hello. Yeah, no. It's so like you wanted to talk about the funding thing, and I feel like that's another thing I haven't been paying too much attention to. And from my understanding, I don't think anything's official yet. There's been a lot of rumors. I think there's been a lot of fan speculations. There's been a lot of this kind of stuff that the show would be quote unquote canceled, and Disney's going to pull the money and blah 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 blah. And I think a lot of it is like the bigots spreading their propaganda, because with this new era of the show, having a black man be your doctor, of course, there's a lot of that. And so much of the internet is just terrible. Last time I heard, I do think it was kind of confirmed, not confirmed, but it's highly rumored that it is officially going to get renewed on Disney Plus. Like that is the current rumor that it was kind of maybe a back and forth, but it seems like it's going to be safe at the end of the day. But I was also kind of worried because we hadn't heard a renewal thing yet for the show. There's been a lot of the kind of back and forths and stuff like that. So I'm going to be very interesting, because like either way, like even if like Disney stopped funding it, even if it did go on and do all that stuff, the show would still go on. It's BBC's most popular show. It's
I mean, they'd shop it around and it would go somewhere. It's been I mean, it's been on, I'm sure, tons of different networks over the years. Obviously, they outsourced some old stuff to, Disney XD at a point. So, I'm sure they could find somebody to publish it or, finance it, that sort of thing. I wouldn't put it past them to put it on Paramount or put it on Netflix or put it on HBO Max or
Sure.
something like that. Which also HBO, we literally completely skipped over that last week. HBO Max is back.
It's Max, yeah. Or
Yeah.
it's Max.
Or Max is now back to HBO Max.
Yeah. Yeah, and like again, I was never afraid for like the longevity of it, even if it is harder for Americans to watch it again. It's like, who cares? As long as the show keeps going, it would have less of a budget. Although I was kind of hoping Darth would be here today, just because it seems like it might be likely at this point that we may get a new Doctor at the end of the season. It seems like if this gets renewed or if it doesn't, it seems like rumor is
Darth the new Doctor?
I mean, crazy. That's why he's not.
That's why he's not here. He's been time traveling. Okay.
Yeah, sure. And that would be very sad. I mean, that would be very sad for me because this would be. I'm pretty sure, and like you guys down below can like tell me if I'm right or wrong about this. I think this would be the shortest run for any Doctor ever, maybe outside of like the first one in like the 2005 era, right?
So what is this? Two seasons?
This is 2 seasons. Each
so
episode,
it might be a third.
Was like 8 episodes.
Yeah. So what that would be maybe a three season run if they do one more with them, or are you thinking that they're going to replace him at the end of the season?
Rumor has it's the end of the season. That
oh my gosh, that seems like a very quick turnaround.
Yes, like 14, 15 episodes isn't a large. I think it'd be like 15 or 16 episodes in total. Not a large run. Most Doctors get about 3 seasons each, and they're like 13 episode seasons. So
is the actor going to do something else, or?
I don't know. I've heard. Yeah, again, I've heard various rumors, and I don't want to jump to conclusions if it's not true. Like I'm hoping we at least have one more season because I have fallen in love with this actor. I think he's done a fantastic job. I think he's been doing terrific. And with these seasons being so short, I would hope there would at least be one final installment with this guy. But also, I found myself kind of like mentally preparing these last couple of days just in case, because this would be the first time I've been watching live and a Doctor has departed. Like I've watched a couple seasons now where I've had to say goodbye to the Doctors. David Tennant is my most recent. I adore David Tennant. He's been freaking fantastic. He was amazing. And like that was very sad. But like this is my first time like since talking about it live, since doing this show, that like saying goodbye to a Doctor, like that would be a really hard pill to swallow, especially after so close. And like there's also a bit of it of like part of me wonders if that would be like the biggest winning in a sense, right? It's because that's what they've been wanting. They've been wanting, get this guy out of here. He's not the real Doctor and all these various things. And it's like, depending on who you replace it with, it could be kind of giving into that. Not saying that they're trying to give into any of that stuff. So that would be interesting. Maddie said the actor has been booked up for something for August to November, but the heavy reported original plan was they were going to start filming season 3. Interesting. Okay. So that's going to be, that's going to be very interesting. And again, like if it is, like, I'll be curious to see what it is. Like there's a whole thing of like how they're premiering the final episode of the season is different than they normally do. They're putting it in theaters. They're seemingly making
interesting.
Which is the first time
they're making a massive deal out of it then.
Which, I mean, that's a thing. Not here. They're not doing that here, but like in the like UK, it's doing that. And I know they've sometimes done that in the past, or changing the way they're doing the filming dates or the premiere dates, so it lines up over there first for like it lines up for no one seeing spoil. And it's like it's seemingly like the finale is going to be a very big deal for a lot of reasons. So it's like it's all kind of leading to probably new Doctor at the end of the season. So I'm going to be interested to see how that all goes. But the episode itself, and I'm wrapping up here, Taz.
No, you're good. Soon. Yeah, you're good. No, I'm intrigued by
it was a pretty good episode. Like it wasn't my favorite of the season, obviously, like I said, but this was a intergalactic song competition episode, Taz, which was, I think, a very interesting concept. Aliens all throughout the world are singing in this competition. There's like
they did that on Legends once, didn't they?
Did they?
I swear they did. Was the one with the? It was like a Terminator kind of robot guy. Didn't he like disintegrate somebody in a 7-Eleven?
That sounds familiar, but I can't remember the context. I know we did
I feel like it was like an American. I thought it was like an American Idol kind of thing.
Maybe they did, but
I
it's not
swear they
hitting
did
me.
that. I don't know. I saw some Legends clip pop up this week, and it was hilarious. And I was like, oh man, I missed this show. But
Yeah.
intergalactic singing competition.
Yes, intergalactic singing competition. It was very, I think that's a very fun comp. It's very cool. The whole kind of thing of the episode is like this competition is being invaded because the sponsors or like the people running this also invaded this planet's world, and they took all their resources and they killed a bunch of other people. So they were like, okay, we're going to take down this corporation that's hurting us, and it's this, that hurt us, and we're trying to get justice and all this thing. And the kind of like the main thread of the episode is like one of these people singing in this competition used to be one of them, and she's kind of like putting up with this propaganda of this like this world hating thing or whatever, and the whole thing is like her having to be like, no, I do have to stand here in front of all these people and sing my people's song, and to let them know that our lives matter and our lives are important, all these kind of things. And I think it was a very touching episode. And I think the meat and potatoes, and like as I was kind of upset about, like not upset, but as the whole torturous scene with the doctor didn't fit well with me, I think the main themes of the episode did work for me. I thought worked pretty well in the context of this episode.
Well, good.
And it's definitely a big, like I said, it's a big setup episode. It's a big, whatever. Episode ends with like the TARDIS like blowing up inside or something. So we'll see what the heck that's up.
Okay.
What's up with that next week?
Okay.
Naruto said, I almost clicked off the episode when credits first rolled in Doctor Who, and I almost missed a big reveal. I saw a lot of people were missing it. I saw the like real rejects didn't include it in there, so they didn't know it was a thing. And a lot of people don't like to see, because like Doctor Who has like a trailer at the end of each episode that's like next week on Doctor Who, and people like clicked off it because they don't want to see that for obvious reasons. I guess a lot of people did miss it. If he does regenerate and we get a actor reveal, might be the first time an actor has been kept a secret with no leaks. As someone who doesn't watch Doctor Who, Taz, who do you cast as our new Doctor? Because I got a
I got a great one. I got a great one.
Okay.
John Boyega.
Ooh. I thought you were going to say John Bernthal. I was like, that'd be a wild ass choice.
He's not British.
No,
he's not British. I gotta go with the British actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Boyega. Let's go. I haven't seen
yeah.
him in anything recently.
Hell yeah. I've always said I think Andrew Garfield would be really fun. I think he'd be a good Doctor. Which he's appeared in Doctor Who, but that wouldn't be the first time that they like recast characters in their continuity.
Interesting. Matt Ryan.
Be fun.
Constantine Doctor Who.
that would be a really fun casting for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Amazing. But yeah, we'll talk about Penultimate next week. But we'll see what happens in these final couple episodes here. So Taz, we're gonna spend the remaining of our episode here talking about some Last of Us.
The Last of Us.
I saved this weeks ago and I haven't used it once. Taz, what are we watching here?
The Last of Us?
I saved it to use it like we did Invincible, and I haven't used it once.
Nice. So did you notice in the intro this week that they went back to the intro with Joel?
I did.
Which was wonderful. I really liked that.
I sure did.
I really liked that. So, all right. Once again, kind of a controversial week, I feel like. Once again, the game fans, very much so, the game is superior. The show fans seem to still really be enjoying the show. Again, I sit somewhere in the middle. I have my brother who is big game fan in one ear. I have my dad who has not played the games but only watched my brother play the games and is enjoying the show in the other ear. And he's like, oh, this show's pretty good. And again, I sit somewhere in the middle. I see the arguments on both sides of the coin there. Like, I definitely understand how, as a game fan, you can be, or why you would be disappointed by some of the stuff that they're doing in the show, some of the liberties that they're taking. But from my point of view, it is the same creative team behind the game. and they're presenting the same story in a different medium. It is a TV show, so they have to change certain things so that it works on TV. And they're telling a more streamlined version of this story. It's not a interactable story anymore. It is a story that we see played out in, in real time. And this is something that we talked about, weeks ago, where in a lot of ways, though, it still does feel like you're along for the ride, like you're, still in the driver's seat, kind of playing through this show in a lot of ways. So I don't know. I again really enjoyed this episode this week, and I think though the biggest thing that it showed me is that we are severely missing the heart of the show without Joel. And for better or for worse, like I think that it serves its purpose to show us, hey, this is what you're missing. But also from a quality perspective, I haven't had as much of a connection to the show without Joel being there. Like I missed his kind of like snarky remarks. I missed how sometimes he kind of plays dumb to certain things, and his his Texas accent and all of that. Like I thought that was all great to finally have back. And they told a very interesting story here this week. All told through flashbacks. Literally 99% of this episode was a flashback. We got a little bit of Joel's backstory with his father, played by the swordsmith, right? From Hawkeye and from
Lalo
Born
from,
Again. Yeah.
Better Call Saul. Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. We see the origin of the watch a little bit. Like I very immediately picked up on that, like when he like reached over, put his hand on Joel's shoulder, and they, stayed, kind of had a long shot, kind of, focusing on the watch for a minute. And then a little bit later on in the episode, they focused back on, Joel wearing the watch and stuff like that. And you can see, obviously, it's been damaged, that sort of thing. So I'm guessing, I don't know if this is game lore. I don't know if this is lore that they're putting into the show specifically. I'm guessing he got killed in the line of duty, and that's why the watch is so important to Joel. But it is very interesting to have that other layer there, and also to show, too, how much Joel always was looking out for Tommy. And I hope that shows kind of how Tommy is going to potentially go down a different path and try to avenge his brother eventually, but we haven't seen any of that yet. But yeah, basically the format of this episode was flashbacks throughout the years in Jackson, where, we get to see Ellie's slow progression, birthday over birthday, as she's getting older and learning more and, trying to become more independent, that sort of thing. We see the origin of the tattoo finally, and then what a lot of people, I'm sure, game fans, it seems like that the spaceship scene was a very big one. And then we get kind of, flash forwarding towards the end of the episode, a different perspective on the New Year's celebration and everything like that, and finally get the extended version of the scene on the porch where everything gets laid out. And yeah, I mean, I kind of skipped a few things in the middle there.
Just a good old recap. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good episode. It was a good episode. And again, I want to hear your perspective on it as a game fan, and then I will let you know my kind of perspective as far as who is in the right and who is in the wrong, or if anybody's in the wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things here to jump into. There's a lot of philosophical discussions to be had. And this was actually a very special episode this week for me, because I'm no longer watching the channel for reasons. And I went downstairs and I put it on, and my mom was still down there, and she sat down with me and watched an episode of The Last of Us with me.
Oh, wow.
She's never played the games. She's never seen a single other episode of the show. So her only ever context of anything was this episode. And I'm trying to explain a lot of this stuff. And like, it's almost a really interesting way to perceive the show is from this perspective, this yearly perspective. She's like, wait, what? Like, what's up with the arm? And like, oh no, she's or she's not, she's immune and blah blah blah. And it's like, I felt like she had this like almost like journey, like she almost
Yeah.
had like almost a whole context of
Kind of a crash
the
course.
story. Yeah, in a very weird way that was very, very interesting to see. I adored this episode. I truly did. I think this is up there for me as one of the better episodes of the show. Not that I've enjoyed every single episode of the show. I've loved the show. I really have. And I think, you know, you talked about how you miss Joel, and you know, you think that like it's slightly not the same without him. And while I agree, I also think that's entirely
Yes.
the point of this story.
Yep.
Of
I agree with that. Yeah. It
Like-
is. It's yeah. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah, like everyone coming out of episode 2 of like, I don't want this anymore. I don't like this. This doesn't feel right. I want what I had back. That's also what Ellie is feeling. That is what.
Yeah.
That is the exact like.
And that's
To
how
me,
the
you
audience should be
saying
feeling.
that is me thinking, okay, so they're doing their job. Like
Yes.
they are
Yes.
writing this in the exact way. Like they're making you feel the exact way everyone involved is feeling. Like there's that beautiful scene now out there with like Joel saying goodbye to the cast, and it's like it breaks your heart because you don't want that. But I think this episode is such a good epilogue to Joel, and I think a lot of people, at least for me, I felt a lot of closure with an episode like this because that death is so sudden. It hits you. It's episode 2 of a second season.
Yes.
You're not expecting to say goodbye to, you know, your main character like that, and I think it's. I personally think it was a really good idea the way they did this. They could have easily spent once an episode like sprinkling in a Joel cameo.
And that's kind of what my maybe unpopular opinion was for this episode. I loved the episode, but I think it unfortunately did what we talked about last week with the deleted scene from the game where it was supposed to kind of flash back to the festival and, you know, be kind of like a reprieve from the, you know, fast-paced nature of what was going on. I feel like, unfortunately, this episode did that for me. Like, it felt like a speed bump in getting to the finale in a lot of ways. And not necessarily a bad speed bump, but I feel like it kind of killed the momentum a little bit. And for it being such a short season, for it being only 7 episodes, I would have almost them rather taken what they did this episode and sprinkled those flashbacks throughout every episode leading up to this point.
Interesting.
And given us an entire other episode. So give us another episode before the finale. So still same episode 7, or episode 6, sorry. But again, it's a different part of the quest where we just get another piece of the puzzle. Like maybe it was just that flashback scene where you know, maybe the episode just starts off with that scene that we get at the end where Joel and Ellie kind of put everything out on the floor, like, you know, don't lie to me again, that sort of thing. That big emotional scene there should have been, you know, the flashback of the week, kind of like in an Arrow context, right? How throughout all, you know, seasons 1 through 5 we got the flashback story parallel to the present day story. And I know a lot of times people didn't necessarily like that kind of interrupting the, you know, present day story, but I think that was a really unique way of storytelling. And I kind of like that is it, you know, having that parallel story of past and present, rather than just, again, hard stopping where we're at and then not progressing the plot really forward at all, leaving us on a cliffhanger last week that still, in at least from the perspective of somebody that didn't play the game, is unresolved, right? Did Ellie kill Nora? Did she leave her there to become infected? Like, what happened? You know, we just see her walking towards a movie theater or something, or, you know, back to the theater at the end of the episode, and that's it. Again, not necessarily a negative, but just, you know, a kind of a nitpick of mine, I guess, is the best way to put it. I still really, really enjoyed the episode, but I just think maybe the story of the episode could have been formatted out throughout the season rather than that one episode there. Because again, I feel like 7 episodes this season. I think that's going to be my biggest critique, is it's not enough. And that kind of brings us to the other point here, is it was revealed today that they might need 4 seasons to tell this whole story. So
I'm really curious how the finale feels for me, because I think that will 100% determine if I agree. I personally love the decision to put it all in one episode. I think that really worked for me. And I think, to me, I think pacing wise, like, I think if we kept breaking to the Joel thing every episode, I think that really would have distracted people. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would have worked perfectly. I don't know. Like, this is just me saying.
I think it would have been good enough to give people that little dose of Joel that they needed for him to be like, okay, he's still in the show. He's still in the show. He's still in the show. That sort of thing.
Maybe. I personally love what they did here, though. Like I really loved this episode's
And I get why they did it. I
thought it was a beautiful story. What I will say, if I was to give a criticism this season, I've adored this season. I've loved every episode. I do think some of these scenes could have felt more impactful in certain spots. I think some of them, due to, and this is the whole season thing, some of these scenes, as they are sometimes more impactful, sometimes they do feel a little rushed in some scenes. Like, you're doing one day is one episode. That is a lot to run by. And I think what the game does is you're traveling on this journey, and you get to let these sequences sit. Like a big moment will happen, and then you spend the next 20-30 minutes just riding around the whatever and doing these little things. And that's just and that's a thing that is only a criticism because I played the games, and I feel like won't feel as impactful if you don't have the one-to-one comparison to be like, oh, this flowed better, blah blah blah. Some of the stuff in here I thought were really, really good, but it happens on top of each other. That's really good. That aside, though, it's such a beautiful story that we've told here, and I like the addition of having each year be a birthday, and Cody said that he's loving the original stuff. I agree. I'm so impressed with how much original stuff they are throwing in here. I know some people are pissed off about it, but to me, it's why wouldn't you want new context to this story that's already so good?
What aspects of this episode were not in the game?
I think a lot of just the exploring the context of these things. Like the first birthday stuff, I'm pretty sure that's all new. The only birthday stuff we get in the game is the 16th birthday stuff, when the space stuff, you're going through the thing. That's the only thing there. I feel like they expanded so much this week with new content and
so the tattoo thing, right? Because that was originally only an intel, I believe, right? From what my brother told me. Yeah,
they talk about it, but that whole thing with her hooking up with the girl and doing all that stuff, everything with Eugene, we heard he died.
I was gonna say,
see it
that's one of the big moral dilemmas there, right? So we heard this right at literally the first episode. The therapist, Kevin's mom from Home Alone, was like, "You killed my husband. I hate you," kind of thing, but I'm gonna still do my job. So we kind of had an idea around probably what happened. Okay, most likely he killed him because he was infected. But they added on to that story a little bit of the dilemma of he was bitten, he wasn't fully turning into an infected just yet, and he wanted to go back and say goodbye. But Joel didn't want to take any chances. And put him down. In the simplest way possible. Do you agree with what he did? Would you have done the same in his situation, or did you more so agree with Ellie on that he should have been allowed to go back to the town, say goodbye to his wife, that sort of thing?
I was honestly team Joel in this situation.
Okay, me too. Me too.
This is
Joel
100%...
did nothing wrong.
Well, we can get into that, but I think was what Joel did a shitty thing to do? Yeah, he sucks there. He inherently what he had to do was horrible, and I think would name you as a horrible person, right? But also, I think I've seen so many apocalypse shows that when I enter a show like this, I do go in from but you gotta do what you gotta do.
It is literally war times. You've got to. Like, think about the safety of everybody else in the town. Like, what happens if you get him there? He goes crazy and then starts infecting a bunch of people, and then you just killed half of Jackson. What is it, Wyoming?
Yeah, it's I think a very similar conversation that we had during our like Invincible conversation.
Yes,
where it's like, and inherently it's not morally right, but neither is like anything we do in this world, and like I would imagine
be the good guy or the guy that saves the world, right?
Exactly, and like inherently, like I assume it's against protocol, or if it isn't against protocol to bring someone who's infected in. It should be.
It should be.
It
yeah.
100% should
be. I think the only thing wrong in that scenario that Joel did was lie to Ellie about it. I think he should have just been like, no, Star Wars, he's too dangerous to be kept alive. Like, that sort of thing is, hey, yes, I know it's sad. I know, you would want him to say goodbye to his family and whatever, but like, it is too risky for us to bring him to town. He either needs to end it himself, or I'm going to end it for us right here and right now, because again, we can't take that risk. Yes, you're immune. I'm not immune. Tommy's not immune. Little Tommy's not immune, whatever his name is. That sort of thing is like, do we want a repeat of what happened last season with the little boy?
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. Like the little brother, like that was, that was some tough stuff right there too. But yeah, I think Joel did the right thing in the end here. I would have done exactly what he did in that scenario. It would have not been an easy decision, but again, I think this shows Joel's tougher side. Like, but he's also become a little bit, I guess, a little bit less rough around the edges, because it seemed like he had some difficulty doing it. I think he deep down wanted to allow him to, fulfill that final wish. But I think he, again, deep down thought about what that could mean if things were to go wrong and had to make that tough choice.
No, 100%. No,
and just live with those consequences.
Everything with, like that stuff just was so good. I love, Ellie's journey here of like, it's a slow build for her of like really, really, really wanting to believe him, that there's nothing that they could done to believe this lie. And like in that moment, she sits there and she realizes that the like same face that lied to her back at the end of game 1, season 1, is the same lying face that he gave to her now.
Yes.
And like as she let him do that, it was like, okay, this is it. I will trust you until this point. I am leaving. I am taking this source out, believing you.
Yeah, I thought for a second she was like, no, dude, I know what you're gonna do. I'm gonna stay with him. You go, and I'll meet you there.
She's
like I thought that was what was gonna happen, but
Ellie is so, and I'm gonna put quotes here, so selfish in this episode, in that everything she is doing is for, not inherently selfish, obviously, I'm not trying to call her selfish, but is in kind of her self-interest, like, trying to see if he's lying, to when she tells Gail at the end of the episode, she tells that not because she needs Gail to know, but she wants to hurt Joel and Joel.
Yes,
in that moment
yeah, 100%. It was very much so kind of the start of that rivalry, and it's crazy too. That lasted for like 9 months. Is that what they said? What the time jump was?
Yeah. And like, oh my god, like I love the parallels where like she didn't say in that moment, you lied to me. No, she said you swore. Yeah. That's what she said there, which is what she said at the end of season 1.
But also,
like,
again,
swear to me.
But deep down, she always knew, and I want us to hold that thought for a second. I'm gonna run to the bathroom really, really quick. Okay. So, talk about some game spoilers or something.
I'll talk about the chat. I'll answer some stuff from the chat. Naruto said longest run for the Doctor Who is the 4th Doctor, 7 seasons. Hell yeah, that's crazy. That's like half of the like middle continuity. That's crazy. Cody says, I'm really curious how audiences will respond to season 3 because Ellie will not be there until the very end. I am also so curious. I don't know how I'm gonna do. Like, I know the story. I'm so happy. I actually am truly so happy that they're committing to this, because that's ballsy as hell. That is crazy. I can't remember another situation that has done this in this regard, and I do think there's something very fun to just be like, season 1's a Joel story, season 2 is an Ellie story, and season 3 is an Abby story. That's very anthology, the way that's being done. And then I assume season 4 will kind of be everything kind of coming together. All 3 of these stories come like colliding into one insane mashup, if you will. Like, I don't even know how they're going to approach season 4. But I am curious about that, though, because like, what, as viewership wise, how is that going to go? Are people going to drop off? Because I've already seen a bunch of people say, "Hey, we're checking out once we're done, with the season. We're done without Joel." So I'm wondering how they're going to do without Ellie. Like, how is that transition going to transpire? Joel's stuff, especially as flashbacks, was super unexpected. I loved it. I loved it too. I feel like I can start talking about this, and Taz will kind of join in. But like, correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I don't. Oh, you're back. Hello. Oh, you're frozen.
Yes.
Okay, there.
Yeah. No,
I was just kind of getting started to talk about the super flashback stuff with Joel and Tommy as a kid. That was super unexpected for me.
Yeah.
I don't think in the game, and people can correct me, I don't think we've ever seen like baby Tommy and like baby Joel. Like, that is something I've never even crossed my mind of, like, hey, what's Joel's father like? It's like,
yeah.
Okay, and that's a fantastic actor who played his father.
Yeah.
Obviously Better Call Saul, obviously, Hawkeye and stuff like that. But like, he is fan-fucking-tastic. And I think that scene, not only improves season 1, but I think it really sells home in, what we're telling in season 2. But I love this story of passed down, I don't want to say trauma, but like,
yeah, I was about to say that too.
Kind of passed down trauma, and like, I love this idea that like
sins of the father, I guess.
Sins of the father, yeah,
is the best
like,
way to put it.
Each generation thinking that, like, well, I thought I'd be better than my father, but maybe you can do better. like
it's like,
maybe...
I'd like to think I did a little bit better, but I hope you do better than I did. And I think that very much so is such a real thing. Like,
yeah,
I would assume, in pretty much everybody's life, I feel like no matter what, whether or not you've had a good upbringing or a bad upbringing, like, I think you always very much so emulate your parents in a lot of ways, whether it's intentional or unintentional. You see the things that you like, you see the things that you don't like, and you want to try to be better. And I guess, give your kids a better life than even you had. Even if you had a great life growing up, you still want to do better, and you want them to be better than you were. And I think, isn't that kind of the point of the point of that cycle, I guess?
No, it's such a good scene, and like, now I almost want to like retroactively watch that first season again, or play that first game again, blah blah blah, with that kind of mindset of like, because like that opportunity got ripped away from him, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say
didn't necessarily get to fully realize how he was as a father, because it was ripped away from him too soon. And I want to talk about Sarah stuff here in a minute, because I think there's an interesting thing I came up with in my head. But it's like, I bet that goes through his mind a lot after Sarah died, of like, was I better than my father?
Right, or, oh, I didn't even get the chance to try and be better.
Like, he was so busy with work, and he was all caught up in his own mind. And I bet within that grief, it came across as like, I was just like my dad. I didn't do much better than him. I did all these various things. Like, me not being there was probably just as bad as like, blah 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 blah, and like all these various things. And obviously we know Joel would never, hit Sarah, or would never hit Ellie, and all these various stuff. But you go through those moments of grief, and I think like so much of this episode is him kind of trying to push that forward, of him trying to be the best dad that he can, and trying to
Yeah.
live up to the legacy that Sarah needed from him. There's like a little thing here that I thought was kind of interesting, and maybe this is just me trying to like make connections that aren't there, but like I do like the focus being birthdays.
Yes.
Because like the day Sarah died was Joel's birthday, and
Yeah,
you know, it
you're
seemed
right.
like birthdays were very important to Sarah. It seemed like that's something that she loved celebrating. You know, she used Joel's birthday almost like her own, of like, well, this is a special day and I want to celebrate with you. And I like that there's such a focus from Joel. Maybe it's like a subconscious thing of like, I wasn't there for that celebration between us the day that that she died, and I bet
Yeah.
that haunts him every single day. I'm going to make sure I am there for her birthday 100%. I will make it. It's the best day of her life, kind of thing when it comes to Ellie.
Yeah,
And the whole cake
yeah.
thing, like he brought a cake in 3 times. What
Yeah.
is it that first episode he forgot the cake? So it's almost like there's a focus
Yeah.
on that cake, bringing in the cake.
Happy birthday, Eli.
Yeah, it was so good, so good. Oh my god.
Also, the to get the cake, he traded Legos, contraband Legos. I thought that was great.
That was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was so emotional, and again, the like journey between, you know, Ellie and Joel, like, it almost brought tears to my eyes a couple of times, because I was brought back to this version of these two characters. The moment when she comes in and she has like the hurt arm because she burned herself, and he instantly goes into like dad mode, where he's like, it's okay, sweetie, please, like, you know, you're gonna be okay, you know, she's on drugs, but she's like super affectionate towards him. And it's like it brought me back to like Sarah, because it's like they were using a lot of the keywords. I don't think we've ever heard those two characters say to each other, but we heard him say it to Sarah and Sarah say it to him, and it brought me back. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah. Which then now at the end of this episode, Joel told Ellie that he loved her, but we never really heard her say that, and I guess that she never got the chance to. And that is very sad to think about.
Yeah,
now that I brought that up.
Yeah, no, like we get to see their last conversations, and I know that porch thing was very controversial for some people, because that's, and you guys can correct me, I think that's how you end Last of Us Part 2. I think you end with that porch scene.
Wait, that's the end of the game?
I'm pretty sure it like if it's not the end, it's like right at the porch
like,
at the end.
From what I understand, right, is so you confront Abby at the end of the game, I guess, right?
Yes,
or like
but
you haven't even played.
I haven't played like the ending stuff, but like from like I've seen that scene.
Okay, yeah. So like
before.
and this is something that's in the, you know, kind of sort of spoilery territory, I guess. We see some stuff on the water in the trailer for next week's episode, so I guess we're gonna get to that part of the confrontation, or at least she's gonna catch up to Abby at the end of the finale.
Right.
And then next season again, and I guess this is in my mind, again, non game player here, but this is my layout for the next 2 seasons, I guess. So the finale of this of season 2 is gonna get us to a point where Ellie catches up with Abby, and we're in this water area. Next season is all focused on Abby and the WLF and what's his name's character?
Jesse?
No.
Isaac.
Yes. Jeffrey Wright's character.
Yes.
All focused on them until eventually at the end of the season, once again, it's but Abby's perspective meeting up with Ellie.
Yeah.
And then season 4 is fight / aftermath, I guess, and closing thoughts. That's just kind of in my mind what will probably end up being the layout, and it seems like that is. And I sent that article over to my brother, by the way, and he was like, at this point, just play the game, dude. That was his response to it.
Yeah, and like again, like I know a lot of people were not exactly happy with how they did the porch scene, and of course I'll have to get to that point in the game myself, I guess, to fully embrace my opinion on that, if they could have waited or if they should not. I just, with the context of this episode, I thought it was a brilliant place to put that, and I think having that,
I loved it. Yeah,
going into the next couple of seasons, I think like that's context I think might finalize the arc that Ellie is on. I think it's very helpful knowing that going in. And I'm wondering if like maybe they were like, we have a different ending for part 2 that we want to tell. Like maybe they're like that, like that's a fantastic ending for the game. That's fantastic, but maybe there's a slightly different note you want to end on for the game, or you know, like
or for the
show.
series.
And again, we'll have to wait a couple of years to get that. Like we can revisit this conversation in a couple of years maybe. But like that scene is immaculate in my opinion. I think it might be one of the best acted scenes in the show, and so much of the scene, or like so much of this episode, and I know we're jumping around here guys, but like so many of these scenes were beautiful, where it's just characters showing off their acting ability. Isaiah, is that his name? Isaac, his wife, or her husband, I'm sorry, like Eugene, thank you. Flew out of there. Eugene scene when like he has to accept his destiny, like he realizes in that moment, he accept his fate, and he realizes he's never going to see his wife again, and he understands, and he's like, you're right. In the scene, I'm going to focus on my wife, and we see him trying to create him in his mind. There's no sound, you see the birds flying up. It's like beautiful scene. The scene where like Ellie has so many standout moments, but like the scene where she's yelling at Joel and like in front of her, and they're like, he did this, like there's like a tear bubble that lands in front of her eye. I don't know if like if you notice it lands right in front of her eye. It's like, that's hard to do. I don't know how. I don't know if that was like a real cry, or if they put something there, or you know, whatever. I
mean, sometimes it's like an eye drop or whatever. Right. But
like she killed that scene as well. Like it was incredible. And then like those like the performance from just those two actors in that final sequence is unbelievably, especially from Pedro Pascal, because like Joel is terrified. Like everything he loves left in the world is on the line in that moment. Like everything he cares about in the scene, like he is about to lose his daughter again. And
you lie to me again, and we are done.
And like the way he performs those, where it's like he can barely shake his head, but he's doing it because he knows he has to. And like Pedro Pascal, like I know he gets a lot of flack nowadays because he's in everything, but like he's in everything for a reason, because he's fan-fucking-tastic.
I will say this is probably his strongest acting role, at least that I've seen. Like I think it shows the most range. I think it's the most complex character that he's played. The Mandalorian, very stoic, not a ton of emotion. You know, I haven't seen him in a ton of other things. It seems like Mr. Fantastic is going to be, again, kind of jokey, kind of, it's going to be more so a fun character, not a very, at least on the surface, not super complex right now. But Joel, so many layers, so much backstory, so much trauma and pain and sorrow in his life that he has to carry, and he is an older man trying to do better and trying to be the best version of himself that he can be, and trying to be the version of himself that he needs to be for his daughter that is not really his daughter, but for all intents and purposes he loves Ellie like she was his daughter, and again is seeing that opportunity to be the father that his father never was to him, with her. So it's not just a redo for his daughter who tragically died. It is a redo for him, and to give Ellie also that father figure that obviously she doesn't have either. So it's very much so a very complex, a very deep relationship. But I did also like the aspect of things as well, where Ellie was like, you know what, deep down I think I always knew as well. And that's something that we've kind of speculated on throughout the season. And it brings up a very interesting point, is a lot of things that they're spelling out for us in the show that apparently they didn't spell out for you in the game, or they waited a little bit later to tell them. Like I guess in the game they didn't tell you that the reason Abby killed Joel was because Joel killed her father until like the
Later,
very end
much later.
or something
Yeah.
like that, right? So I see that as sort of one of the aspects that people don't like, is they're revealing too much too soon, is there's not a lot of mystery. And I definitely see that as well. Like there's not a ton of mystery, but I am interested to see how they change things up, because it seems like season 1 again was very, you know, one-to-one recreation for the most part of the first game. They didn't change a ton there. As season 2 has progressed, it seems like they're taking a lot of liberties with part 2. It seems like they're changing things that certain people might have had some backlash with. They're still keeping the backbone of the story the same. It's still Abby kills Joel because Joel killed Abby's father. Ellie goes on revenge quest and they meet up. But are we going to come to the same conclusion? Are we going to come to the conclusion that they're both in the wrong here at the end of it? Or are we going to go full in on, no, Abby really was wrong and Ellie was right? Or vice versa, flip it on its head? Or make the audience choose a side, I guess. You know, I can just see the marketing, right? Season 3 ends on a cliffhanger, like who killed who or who's right or what, you know, are you team Ellie or are you team Abby? Pick a side.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Team Cap versus Team Iron Man kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can see that now.
It's so like we were talking about like while you're in the bathroom, like it's pretty concrete at this point that season 3 will be Abby, full stop.
Yes.
You know, day 1, 2, and 3. And like I don't think that's ever really happened before, where like outside of like an anthology series, like how cool it is, like season 1's Joel, season 2 is Ellie, season 3 is Abby, and season 4 is all these various stories coming together. This large story about consequences catching up with you and you know what it means and all these various things. Like it's so cool. Just push back your thing that you were saying a couple minutes ago though about like revealing too much too early. Like I would argue you kind of have to when it's not a game. Like a game template is so much different. With a game you can play the whole story right now. That isn't how the TV world is templated, right? This is a weekly ongoing show, and I think you have to let these things sit. And I think for the story to make sense, people would be nitpicking, hey, this doesn't make sense, hey, why are they doing this, why are they doing this? I think especially to even make it semi-acceptable to jump into next season playing the person that kills Joel, you have to make it sympathize with her at least a little bit to make it work. And you know, Cody was talking about, like, I'm curious how audiences will react next season. I'm like, me fucking too, because I do not know how they're going to make that.
It's going to be the same reaction that the game got. It's going to be, you know, maybe they'll do the same thing that they did this season. They'll maybe give us a little bit of Ellie at the beginning just to kind of, you know, satiate that need for a recognizable character. And then by the end of the first episode, beginning of the second episode, it's all Abby all the time. It is, you know, it is her show.
I'm wondering if there's going to be like one episode in there that's like a little different, right? To kind of give people something. Like I was even wondering, like maybe it's Tommy. Like maybe we get like a Tommy episode next season.
That might be the flashback. That could be. So if we do, you know, continue with that theme of one flashback episode a season, right?
The like Jesse Tommy episode with them traveling to find them.
Oh, so okay, the Jesse thing. I saw I saw people talking about they just said, Jesse, don't go through that door, and they I think I know a thing. But
they meant Jesse Quick from The Flash.
Something interesting though that my brother picked up on. I was like, so what's going on with the Tommy side of things, right? So he should be out there, you know, just murking fools, basically, right? And he was like, well, the hospital wasn't full of bodies, so maybe Tommy hasn't gone on that rampage just yet.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting, again, like you said, is if that's something that they're saving for next season. And there was talk that I saw that people wanted a Tommy DLC for part 2. So maybe they're going to write that into the show and give him a standalone episode, which I would be 100% down for. I think that would be incredible. Start it from, he wakes up, Ellie and Dina are gone, and he's got to figure out, how to get there, where they went, what the plan is, assemble his team, that sort of thing. I think that would be a very interesting episode.
I'd even go a step further, and this goes for the games and the TV show, and people might laugh at this because I don't remember where Tommy's story ends. Like, I haven't got there yet, so ignore this if this is a stupid pitch. I'd even go as far as say I'd watch a whole spin-off of just Tommy. I'd watch like if Last of Us Part 3 was announced, and again I don't know what happens to him, but like if it's announced and like we're done with like the Ellie, Abby, Joel story, but here's Tommy's story. It's a journey about what happens to him post all of this. I'd be like, you know what? Hell yeah, do that.
Or even again, what happened to Tommy. I still think a Tommy and Joel prequel show of them like right after everything went down, like right after Sarah's death, right after the outbreak really started, when they were kind of like running with the bad crew.
If that was focused on Tommy, actually that could work.
Yeah.
That could work, because like I wouldn't want it to be Joel again, because I feel like you can't do much character wise with him.
Yeah,
like, he has
or
to
like have them be
perform
co-leads, that sort of thing.
Right.
But really see like how down and dirty they got as far as like making these really tough calls and tough decisions, and like they talk it up all the time of like, oh, we did really bad things in our past, like, but that's behind us now, that sort of thing. And didn't Tommy have some, like, he was in with the Fireflies for a minute too? So that would be very interesting.
It would be interesting too, because like I feel like a lot of apocalypse stories likes to jump to like the middle of it when things are already set, which I understand, because like Walking Dead does this too, where they jump over all of the like starting stuff. It would be interesting seeing the world crumble before us, like to see a world that's still filled with a lot of resources, a government that doesn't know what the frick is happening, who's
right,
because
we saw the outbreak, and then we saw the aftermath.
Was
but
it like a
never
10 to 15 jump?
Right, but never how we got to post-apocalyptic. We didn't get the actual apocalypse part.
Yeah, it'd be like, even if it's not Tommy and Joel, you just do a random character, and it's like have a story about someone's heart getting like darkened.
Well, didn't they do that for The Walking Dead? Right. So wasn't there a show that came out that kind of showed like right after the outbreak, or like leading up to it, and that sort of thing?
Fear may have done something with it, but from my understanding, they still haven't tackled like right when it started. Which I do think is a missed opportunity, because I do think that stuff is some of the more interesting stuff in like zombie apocalypse stories.
Yeah, it's always like, all right, the apocalypse is just happening. Like we don't normally, or you get a really brief like, okay, this is how it started. But I guess, what is it? 28 Days Later? Is that's a post-apocalyptic zombie movie that happens right after the apocalypse happens.
Yeah, it comes out soon. I would love, and this probably exists, but like I would love like an apocalypse zombie show from the perspective of like the government and people that are like,
I thought you were about to say from the perspective of the zombies.
No, I mean maybe, hell yeah, but like, as someone like, as like a president, or like someone in like the U.S. Army, or someone in the White House or something, like, how do you even like start to process that? Like what do you do as someone who keeps up with like the government? How do you try and keep stabilization, and like at what point
zombie White House down or something?
Yeah, like how long until you're like, oh, we've lost, society is gone.
Oh, we're screwed. Yeah,
like let it go. Like that's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
I want to, I know we're hitting our 2 hour mark here, but like really quickly, I do want to kind of go through some of like the other Joel and Ellie moments within this episode. Obviously there's the iconic space scene, which is among one of my favorite Last of Us moments of all time. I adore. I last week I just played that moment inside the game again, and it's such a beautiful moment. And like leading into this episode, I was like, how are they going to do that? Because that is such an insanely beautiful moment inside of the game. And I think
I was gonna say, I could imagine it would hit harder after actually playing the game, Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, the game, at least on like the PlayStation 5 version, where like your remote literally rumbles as you're, doing the whole space thing, and there's such an immersive part of that. And I love that scene so much for Joel as just someone who just, you're kind of in the midst of this dark world, and for a minute you get Joel back. You get him back.
Yeah.
And I think, and maybe that's why I love them doing this the way they did, because like you have had some time apart from Joel. He's been dead for a minute, within the game, and for a minute, it's like he's back, and this feeling, and then you have to go back into that world that's dark and gloomy. And I think that like that feeling of, no, I don't want to go back. Like bring Joel back. Don't get rid of him as soon as you gave him to me. But I think that feeling is also important to have, and just the way they did that. I loved Ellie's little like, I'm on a motherfucking dinosaur, and she, that's such a wholesome scene. I love that bit, which I didn't get in the game. I didn't know that was an option, that you can like climb.
Oh, you can climb
a dinosaur, like that's optional inside the game. I didn't know that.
Is that a museum? Yeah, we're gonna go if you don't fall off the freaking T-Rex, dude.
Yeah. In the like behind the scenes video thing that they did for the end of the episode, like they showed all of the like crew members climbing up themselves and getting to do it. I was like, that's cool. It's so cool to have like a practical thing like that. That's so awesome. Everything with them bonding was great. And then it's so depressing getting to see the like downfall of their relationship every year, getting worse and worse. And I thought like the whole puberty years was very interesting too, to dive into that stuff. Not to dive too far into like queer talk, but like it did, like homophobic Joe did throw me off a little bit at first.
I didn't necessarily take it as that, actually. I thought more so he was just shocked. I think that's what it was trying to get across. But again, I could be completely wrong. That's just how I read the scene.
No, I think I mostly agree, because like at first it threw me off, because I'm like, this character that I love very dearly, like having those kind of reactions. It's like that's not something you want to hear from any parent, right? But also, I also think it's important to have that kind of representation. Like we're not, like this show has done a fantastic job with representation. Joel is a straight man in his 60s, like from the Midwest, in a world that never went through the major, like pride and queer era. Like, it was never, like that never really happened in like this world, right? Because of when the apocalypse happened, like 2003, right? So I think like that reaction, unfortunately, is very warranted for him. I think it's very expected for someone of that kind of character, not trying to justify that from anybody, but also I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of times, and this goes for a lot of parents, it's like sometimes parents need a minute to process that. Sometimes parents need a minute to be like, okay, that's what's going on. How do I move forward with this? Parents grow up having this image of who their children are from such a young age, that when something happens and that's not how they turn out, it can be hard. It can be jarring. And I think Joel handled it like many parents don't. As we all dream our parents will, is like, oh, they finally got it. And I think we saw that slow evolution. And then I love the scene in the barn with him being like, so is that your girlfriend? Like him trying to at least pull that like olive branch of being like, hey, I see you, I'm okay with this, and I just hope she's good for my baby girl, kind of thing. Like I thought, like, okay, I really liked that mini journey with that.
Yeah. The growth was definitely nice.
Yeah, very nice to see. I mean, we covered a lot here. Is there anything we haven't talked about yet that you wanna talk about?
I mean, I don't think so. I feel like if we talked further, this would definitely go into probably spoiler territory and things that I've seen very much so out of context. I'm excited to see what happens in this final episode. Like, I'm going into it thinking, I'm like, how is one episode going to be enough to wrap up this story here? But
right.
And my biggest thing going into this finale is I want it to feel like a genuine close to this season and not just like a mid-season finale. Like, in my mind, I kind of went into this once I knew the layout of the game, as I was like, okay, seasons 2 and season 3 are going to feel like season 2A and season 2B, not two distinct
Right.
seasons. It's going to feel like, in like in the seasons of the Arrowverse shows, where you have kind of that mid-level boss for the first 9-10 episodes, then you've got your mid-season finale, and then you come back and really hammer home what you're going to do with that big bad in the back half of the season. And that's sort of what it feels like they're doing setup wise here.
Mm-hmm.
And just that 7 episode count just feels so odd to me. But if they can stick the landing with this, and again make it feel like the actual close of a chapter, and set up nicely for next season to again make season 3 now feel like a distinct piece of the puzzle, its own chapter, that then doesn't feel like it ends abruptly into season 4 and like these 21 episodes that we're gonna get throughout seasons 2, 3, 4, and make them all feel like individual unique seasons, and not just, okay, we're splitting up one season into 3 parts. That is my biggest concern, and I guess my biggest hope for the end of this show as well.
Yeah, I'm curious how you feel, because like I do kind of think the game feels like that a little bit. Like it does kind of, like the ending of day 3 for Ellie's part feels like, all right, pause, and then we're gonna go over here for a bit. Like it doesn't necessarily feel like an ending. It feels like a see you later kind of thing. And I wonder how they translate that. Like again, like you have to translate that in a way in the show that feels real and feels valuable. And like I've been wondering all season, like where they're going to end. And as the season went on, I realized, they're doing as a day per episode. I was like, we're going to reach the end of the season. Okay, that's what we're doing. And I agree. I'm super curious to see how they wrap it up. Like it could, because like I even thought like the season 1 finale, as it was really good, felt a little not off, but like maybe could have been like paced better and stuff like that. So like I'm curious to see, as this is not the actual ending of the story, where we end here. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. And I think too, also one last thing to mention before we wrap things up. You mentioned the end of season 1. We never got your answer on this, or I guess my answer either. We agreed with Joel and what he did with Eugene, but now that we've seen it talked out between Ellie and Joel, do we agree with what Joel did at the end of season 1? And or do we agree with how he tried to hide it from Ellie, which I think are 2 different answers.
I've like we talked about this at the front of the season, and I still don't feel like I have a good answer. Like
Okay.
I genuinely don't know what I would do in his situation.
Yeah.
Like, would I have the strength to do either of what he does? Because each of his options takes so much strength on both sides. Like it takes a lot of strength to go through and kill the last remaining hope of the world. It also takes a lot of strength to sacrifice your own daughter, your own daughter for something that might not even work.
And only somebody who's gone through the things that Joel has gone through
can do that.
Could be able to make that decision. And I think at the end of the day, I think Joel was right in quote unquote saving Ellie, because there was no guarantee that the cure would actually work. That is the biggest caveat to that. Was he necessarily right in killing all the Fireflies? No, but ends justified the means, as far as like, okay, he didn't want Ellie to die, and the only way to get to her and safely bring her out of there was to kill everybody who could potentially stop them. And also that brings up too an interesting point as well, that I saw somebody mention, is that when he carried Ellie out of there at the end of season 1, is he held her like lower than he was holding Sarah when they were, at the beginning of the outbreak, because him holding her up higher is why she got shot. and basically like he held her a little bit lower just to avoid that. So if they got
Yeah.
shot at, he would be the one to get shot and not Ellie, which I think is a very very interesting touch and a very close attention to detail there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Joel was right in saving her and stopping the Fireflies. However, he was wrong in hiding why he did what he did and what he did from her. And I think that Ellie's anger against him is not necessarily, again, for what he did, but for keeping it from her and lying to her. Not only just lying to her in that moment, I think she could have maybe forgiven that if he would have been like, afterwards, all right, hey, we've recovered, we're gone, we're back to civilization now, I want to tell you what really happened. I think she would have handled it a lot better. But the fact that he kept that from her for 5 years and only told her after she only went ahead and figured it out on her own and saw through the lies of the Jedi, that is why she was so upset with him, which she justifiably was.
Yeah. And like, one thing I'd argue maybe the show doesn't hit forward as much as I think the game really does is, or I guess the end of the season, I guess the end of game 1 does really well, is like show the brokenness of Ellie because of Joel's decision, right? Because it's like that, like what that does for her is like it takes away her purpose. Like she's lived all this time with a purpose and a reason to live because she was going to save everybody. And when that's taken away from her, it's like, what's the point? Why should I be here? Why do I want to do this? And then when Joel dies, there's a purpose again. There's something that lives for her. And I think that's a good arc. And maybe that's something we're going to be diving into in like season 4 once we circle back around to Ellie, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's like such an interesting thing. I obviously Bella Ramsey's performance, I think it's like 1 for 1 from the game, but when she's like, yeah, but like you would have died, it's like, okay, so I was supposed to die. That was my destiny and you took that away from me. It's like, oh, okay. Like that's such an interesting dilemma to have where it's like, is it better to die a hero or is it better to live a life that feels unfulfilling? That feels
and I would agree with that only if we had 100% without a doubt confirmation that by her sacrificing herself, they could then synthesize a cure that would then work, right? There was, again, no telling that sacrificing her would allow for that. And by doing so, we could be completely just either halting the process of finding a cure that could actually work thanks to her, or than just killing the only person that is known to be immune. I would assume that what happened to Ellie is she's not the only immune person. I think it would be reasonable to consider that somewhere else out there that it happened that, a mother got infected at the same time she was giving birth to her child. Like, probably happened more than just once. Maybe. I don't know.
Agreed.
Or there's a way for, I still think the fact that Ellie is immune, like if she were to have if she were to carry a child, maybe that child would then be immune. Again, I don't know if that's something that is thought about or approached in the game at all. But that would be a very interesting concept as well. And then maybe it's like again, going like the comic book route here with things, but like maybe it's like a mutant sort of thing, right? Is like, a mutation that eventually, develops so that, as this progresses, more and more people are born with the immunity, maybe.
Right. Maybe.
But hey, they're not immune to being ripped to shreds.
Yeah. Let me read these last couple comments here, and then I think we're going to call it a day. Cameron, actually, I will answer that Cameron question last because it's off topic from Last of Us. I don't think Joe should have lied to the guy's wife about what happened. I actually kind of disagree there a little bit because I actually think like what Ellie did, I think was only going to hurt her more, and I think like in that moment, I think like as fucked as it is to lie, it's also like I think she
You would
have
much
grieved
rather
better.
hear, you'd much rather hear, okay, he went out on his own terms, basically he died a hero, that sort of thing, rather than, I had to put him down like a rabid dog.
Yeah, like
You know?
unless there's like any way that
There's
they
some
can get back
delicacy.
to her, like
There's a little bit of delicacy there, and sometimes, you've got to fudge the truth just a little bit to let them down easy.
Yeah, like I know our approach to a lot of these things make us seem like villains. Like we're pitching for like lying
but like think
and
about
killing,
it.
but like
But like think about it in like a simpler context too, right? Is like say your friend texts you and is like, "Hey, I'm going out to get dinner. Would you like to go with me?" You're like, "Oh no, I think I'm busy. Long day at work, that sort of thing." When in reality, maybe you're just sitting at home and watching, catching up on Dexter, right? A little, little bit of a lie, but just
I'm not gonna
let
be
him
like,
down easy.
fuck no, I'd rather
just
watch TV.
absolutely not. I had such a long day. The last thing I want to do is hang out with you. Like, you're not gonna tell somebody that,
right?
So, I think same kind of rule applies here.
Cody says, and now I get why they revealed the dad info now. It's because in the game, you get that at the start playing as Abby, but they didn't want to wait until season 3 to do that. So I assume the like dad Abby thing. Yeah, 100%. Like I think I personally think that was for the show's best interest. I think especially going into season 3, it would have been very tough to convince people to watch that. It's going to be hard anyways, but I think making her a slightly more compelling character, and I think showing the flaws of Joel a bit more is going to help on that crusade.
Yeah, 100%.
We get Liv next season. That makes me excited. Okay, so what to see next season? Or
Who is that?
No, okay, so here's the dilemma I'm now up against is I'm on day 2 of Abby right now, and I'm hoping I want to push myself this week to get caught up, finish Abby's portion of the story as I'm replaying it. But should I go ahead and start the Abby story now, or should I wait until season 3 is closer if I can be more?
Well, like I said, my plan is to start going through and playing everything once this season is over. So I would say keep So I would say let's keep playing the game, and hopefully again I'll catch up at some point, and then we can kind of fully discuss. And like I said, maybe I can bring the Last of Us expert. Maybe I can convince him to pop on the stream one day.
That'd be fun. And Cameron was very patient. Thank you, Cameron. I had started your comment earlier, but you posted it again, so we will pull up both. Off-topic, Darren, have you seen the Amazing World of Gumball Season 7 teaser trailer? So I did watch this, and like I hate the boring answer, but the boring answer is simply I have not seen very much of the Amazing World of Gumball. I've seen like one episode, I think, and it's very fun, and it's on my list for this year since it's coming back. But I have not. Have you watched this trailer?
I have not seen the trailer. I didn't realize that there was a trailer. I saw news that they recast both main voice actors, which is interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
It's just because they've grown up and their voice no longer sounds the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I really did enjoy the original show. I think that was like a weird, like kind of like a drug trip of a show. Mm-hmm. Like it was ridiculous, but it was in that, Cartoon Network vein of like borderline like how is this even a kid show kind of show. But yeah, it was fun. It was in that kind of like regular show era as well,
right?
Which regular show is coming back too, isn't it? So yeah, I'm excited for them to bring back all of these classic shows. Now we just need a new Ben 10 show, and not the new Ben 10 show that is currently out.
I will force these knuckleheads to watch every episode with me when that comes out. When the Ben 10 show finally happens.
Yes.
But they also, it's not technically season 7 anymore, right? It's like a new. Let me go down. Hold on. It has a new title now.
Oh, does it?
It's called. I'm scrolling. Hold on. Give me a second.
Scrolling. Gumball and his amazing friends. I don't know.
It's something close to that.
Really?
The wonderful, weird world of Gumball.
Oh, okay. Why?
I don't know. Rebrand, and also there's a huge thing now where it's not going to Max, HBO Max. It's going to be going to Hulu and Disney Plus for streaming. So it'll air on Cartoon Network. I guess Warner Brothers was like, hey, we don't want it, so we don't want it on our streaming or whatever. So it's going to Hulu and Disney Plus once it's.
That's weird.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
That's so weird.
Fuck Warner Brothers, man. Like they keep sending their successful IPs to other places.
Yeah.
Caped Crusader.
I was about to say Batman Caped Crusader. Where is season 2 of that, by the way?
I think it's in production, but I don't know. It's happening. Same with My Adventures, I assume.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and my adventures with Green Lantern as well.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and X-Men 97. We're living in a good era of animated
shows. Yeah, we are.
Shows.
We're finally back. It's the meme of like the oh, we're so cooked. Oh, we're so back. Oh, like just like in a vicious cycle. Of like there's no content. There's too much content. There's no content. There's too much content.
What up, Jose? How's it going?
Hello.
I'm going to binge these last 6 episodes of Doctor Who. Hell yeah. Have fun. I think it's been a good ride. Cameron said, what's funny is that they reference the 7 seasons between 6 and 7. Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to have to give it a shot. I feel like it'll be a fun little quirky show I can put on every once in a while if I can get caught up. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for us today. A very fun show. A lot of deep conversations and discussions. Keep a lookout for the show next couple weeks. We got some changes coming. I think after next week's episode is when we'll start to experiment with some new stuff, switch some stuff around. Taz, like always, where can people find you? What you're working on? What you're cooking up?
Yeah, youtube.com/toxictaz. I think this week will be another stream clip, most likely, probably the part of the stream where we talked about all the Fortnite stuff. Gonna go ahead, get some gameplay, throw some fun stuff in there, make that into a video while I'm still in the background working more so on the Andor review. I still gotta finish it. I've got 2.25 episodes to go. That might be a little bit more so in the traditional style that you guys are used to as far as my content goes. Gonna be a mix of on camera and pictures and clips and stuff like that, but a little bit more scripted, a little bit more focused, should I say. But yeah.
Amazing. Next week for after the credit stuff, hopefully next Monday, Last of Us finale, Doctor Who penultimate, and I think we're gonna do Andor, final thoughts on Andor as well. Next week as well, and if anything else interesting comes up we want to talk about. For the pipeline, hopefully this Thursday we'll be jumping back into our MCU retrospective series, hopping into phase 2 of the MCU with Iron Man 3. So that's going to be very interesting. I previously have not loved that movie, but maybe I can change my mind on this fresh new viewing.
It's the kid from Iron Man 3.
Yeah, sure is. Also, tomorrow we have a 9-hour premiere coming to the channel. I have uploaded with it being 1 year since X-Men 97 has wrapped up.
Gosh.
I compiled me and Darth's entire 10-episode journey through season 1. Taz, that I think is still my favorite thing I've done on this show. Our discussions through those 10 weeks or 9 weeks straight of that show. So much fun. It has slowly been one of my favorite shows of all time. And some of I think the deepest conversations we've had on this show personally. So if you want to hop in every once in a while, check out some some X-Men clips from us throughout the day as we're trying to get back to our monetization on the channel. We're like a good like 70 hours short, and like we're very close to getting to that goal. So
Nice.
that's what's going to be going up on the channel tomorrow. And yeah. Do you have any final things there?
Yeah, definitely. I need to watch X-Men 97, and once I do, I'm gonna save this to my watch later, and it will be my nighttime viewing. So you'll get like so I'll watch like 15 to 20 minutes of it as I'm going to sleep, and then it'll play the entire night, and then I'll come back, pick up from where I was, and the rest of the video will play the entire night, and this will happen for like 2 weeks until I finally finish the video.
Unironically, guys, y'all don't even have to watch it. Just like just put it on and mute it, and just let it play, and rank up those.
Same thing. Same thing with the hour and 20-minute U video that I uploaded. With the clips from a couple weeks ago. So if you guys want to throw that on, something to chill, relax, study to, go to sleep to, that sort of thing. I've been very much so into those as like people uploading like, all right, Call of Duty Zombies Easter eggs to go to fall asleep to, or something like that. And just like I'll throw that on at night and just like absolutely clock out. But
hell yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I will see you folks on the flip side. Bye-bye.